Hello,
I am Khyati.
and I am Kshiteissh. This video is a part of our series, The Hidden Gems of Hyderabad.
We are honored to have Commodore TMJ Champion, one of the most esteemed veterans of Western classical music in Hyderabad, with us today.
Champion Sir is a retired Commodore of the Indian Navy. He is also one of the most erudite and sought after scholars of Western classical music in Hyderabad. And apart from all of this, he is also an expert on the pipe organ.
He mentors students in Western music theory, oral training, and also the pipe organ. He is known for his phenomenal teaching style because his teaching method and approach to music is wholesome and multidimensional.
We are honored to have you here on the show, sir.
Thank you very much. That's very nice of you for all the kind words. And I am most delighted to be part of the show,
Thank you.
sharing my thoughts and experience in a small little way to the extent of exposed to the Western classical music.
Thank
and
you,
you're
sir.
doing a great job.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Please tell us about your journey from the beginning in brief. Who were your first teachers and how did they inspire you?
Well, I should say it's very, very simple. I just learned it maybe when I was single digit age, maybe 6 years, 5 years or whatever, from my father. And my father used to play the organ as well as the violin. We had a small little baby organ at home with all the kind of pedals you press around, that kind of stuff. And all that he taught me was, I should say, just the fundamentals, lines and spaces, crotchets and quavers and what have you, that's all about it. And fortunately, we had enough tutor books at home. So he used to open the tutor books and tell me to play something and watch me play. And I should say that after that, I was totally a self-taught with all those fundamentals from there, because I left home when I was just about 14, 15. After that, whatever I learned is totally self-taught effort. And I was fortunate to have some kind of good opportunities along the way. That's it.
You have been a Commodore in the Indian Navy and were awarded the VSM for your service. Please tell us about your journey as an officer in the Indian Navy.
Well, I did my engineering degree from 1965 to 1969. And then my father's wish was that I take up a job whichever comes first.
How
Because-
old were you when you completed your engineering?
Okay, I was just about 21
Oh wow.
because I'm 1948.
Okay.
I finished in 69, April 69. So my father said, take up the very first job which comes your way. And because we had a lot of difficulty educating me for engineering, and I have taken some government scholarship and all sorts of stuff. So 65 to 69 I was in the engineering college, and some ad came in the paper, and those days it's all plain paper application. You take a demi sheet or whatever they call it. There's no A4 those days. So I made an application and posted it to the headquarters, and they called me for interview, and then the interview was in Bangalore, and it's called the Services Selection Board.
Oh, okay.
So that interview is very complex and all the stuff like that. So I got through all of them and got into Navy.
Oh, wow.
That's it. And then it's smooth sailing for, I should say, 35 years.
Oh,
Oh wow.
Right? After the 35 years, then I was in the civil life for another 12 years in an IT ES company, IT enabled services. But within the Navy, I should say, because I should say something related to music as well. So I would say that I had a clear pie chart, what they call it, in my mind between, I should say, profession and my passion.
Oh.
Profession is I have to serve the Navy in the ship, do all the work related to the ships, and passion is music I have to pursue. So I had a clear, judicious balance between these two, and I managed. And professionally, I should say I must have done very well, because Navy sent me abroad for training courses. Navy sent me abroad as part of the delegation.
Oh, wow.
Headed by some admiral, I'll be part of the delegation.
Wow.
Going to shipyards, what do you talk about the submarine deals and this and that. I was part of the delegation.
Oh, so where was your one very memorable deal? Where did you go?
It was in Germany, the north of Germany, just before the North Sea.
Oh.
It's a place called Kiel, Kiel.
Okay.
Kiel opens into the North Sea from Germany, the northern part of the Germany. So I was in Kiel in the shipyard, and that's it. And so quite a few delegations I was part of it. And during my, I would say, off hours or Sunday weekends, I was there in the church, getting into musical activity, playing the organ, doing some choir activity and that kind of stuff. So it was, I should say, very judicious balance between these two. Because if I had focused on my profession, possibly I would have lost all the opportunity I had, which came my way for music. If I focused on music, I wouldn't have climbed up the career ladder anyway.
Oh.
So,
Yes, sir, in the Vishisht Seva Medal.
yeah, that was during the Kargil War.
Oh, wow.
I was the second in command in the biggest shipyard, or you can say repair yard of Navy.
Oh.
In that repair yard, I was the second in command, and during the Kargil War, they said no transfers, everybody should stay in the same place.
Oh.
And plenty of work to do during that Kargil War, support kind of work. So at the end of it, they gave me a VSM.
Oh.
Wow.
That's wonderful.
You have been regarded by many musicians, teachers, and students alike as one of the torch bearers of Western classical music in Hyderabad. So, how has audience perception of Western classical music been in Hyderabad? And what are the challenges that you have faced as a torch bearer of Western classical music?
Well, the twin cities of Hyderabad and Secunderabad have not been that fortunate like other major cities of the country. Chennai, Bangalore, Delhi,
Mumbai.
Mumbai for that matter, and so many other people, right? Mumbai was more of a commercial capital, and the Parsis occupied and made into a musical
Oh,
kind of
okay.
a place also. Otherwise, it was regarded as a commercial capital of India kind of thing. The unfortunate part, which I said Hyderabad was not fortunate enough, so you'll ask me, what was the unfortunate part? I wouldn't say really unfortunate that way. Nizam was occupying one side of the twin cities, and the British cantonment, the British military presence was there in the other part of the thing.
Okay.
And the dividing line was the Sardar Patel Road.
Oh,
Right? Anything other side of Sardar Patel Road was belonging to
a different world.
a different world. Nizam did, and he must have done a wonderful job. A lot of people of my age group have a lot of praises for Nizam. And you can also see Hyderabad Public School, Osmania University,
Yes.
Osmania General Hospital, all sorts of things with a lovely architecture, etc. He must have done wonderful. And not that he was bereft of musical knowledge or passion, he had a band of his own,
Oh.
playing Western music.
Wow.
And those of you who have traveled to Hill Fort, that is, just cross the income tax office and go towards the Hill Fort, there's a place called Band Lines.
Okay.
That is the land donated by or allotted by Nizam to this bandsman office, and hardly anybody is surviving now.
In
If
fact-
at all they are there, they'll be older than me perhaps.
In fact, people might not even be aware
Yeah.
of this.
Yes.
That's primarily the reason I went across to the band lines,
Oh, wow.
met quite a few people, interacted with them, tried to get them to play for us, for festival choristers, etc. So much so when a very senior person passed away,
Oh.
I was there myself in the band lines, and they had the funeral, whatever thing is. I offered to play, so I played for the funeral mass, whatever they called it. I made a special wreath and I went and laid the wreath.
Oh, wow.
Even the Navy didn't expect me to do it. Nobody knew. After all, he was not a officer grade. He was less than the officer grade, and nobody really takes that kind of a initiative to do this. So I went, made a wreath, and I laid the wreath over there and that kind of stuff. That's all about the band lines. Now we'll talk about this side of Hyderabad, the Secunderabad side.
Yes.
It was entirely a cantonment, entirely a military presence. And they say it's the largest cantonment in the whole of Asia.
Oh,
Secunderabad
okay.
cantonment, people say, all the old timers say,
Okay.
the largest cantonment. Now, I started with comparing this with Chennai and Bangalore. Not a single British institution is there if you see in the Twin Cities.
Mhm.
You talk about Madras, there's a Queen Mary's College, there's a Presidency
Yeah.
College,
Oh, yes,
there's a
yes.
Madras Christian College,
Yeah.
there is this, there is that. Everything built by the British, they left the legacy. Those schools and colleges had piano in every blessed room, and taught them singing, and so many other things happened.
Mhm.
There's no such institution in the whole of Hyderabad, Secunderabad
Yes.
Oh.
to promote this kind of Western music. As I said, except for Nizam, who did his own band, and a lot of photographs are there in the internet. If you see Nizam band, you just
Okay.
Google Nizam band, you'll see all the old photographs of them. And the British confined themselves only to church music.
Hmm.
And they're all very class conscious. The Gora Sahib, the white skinned man,
Yes,
he
yes.
didn't allow the soldiers to worship along with them.
Oh.
So he wanted the soldiers to worship in All Saints Church in
Okay.
Tirmalgiri,
Hmm.
and the British officers worshipped in our church, that is St. John's Church,
Okay.
and they played the pipe organ and
Oh.
this and that. So their whole activity is primarily focused on only the church and church-related concerts, and that's all. There's no institution to promote the Western music. That is the
So
unfortunate part of the Twin
we
Cities.
can say that Hyderabad was still in a kind of Baroque era during that time when there was only
Yeah.
church
Only
music.
church music.
Only that much kind of a thing it was there. Yeah. Well, I won't call it as a challenge, because the term challenge you use when you're assigned to do something and it's difficult to accomplish. Whereas I was not assigned to do anything specific. It is your own initiative as to what you want to do, given the scenario of Western classical music.
Yes.
So the first thing I did is restore the pipe organ. It was not working at all. It was working in the British time, and now it was giving a mute testimony to the glorious days of yore. So I said, I'll restore the pipe organ, and the committee allocated the budget. So I started restoring the pipe organ within few months of my arrival into the Twin Cities. I came here in November 2002,
Mm-hmm.
and by around August, I could rededicate the pipe organ with
Wow.
a particular ceremony and all this thing. After that, it's a matter of focusing onto the choir, trying to bring them up, getting into a little bit of music lessons, give them the score and that kind of a thing, and move into that kind of an area. Then progressively, so many activities took place. Seeing the pipe organ restoration, people in Medak also requested me to do it.
Oh, okay. In the Medak Church.
Medak Church Cathedral. And I should say, the good part of it is the local MLAs and MPs, all the politicians came forward and said, this is our church.
Oh.
It is our pilgrim spot. So we will fund the thing, whatever
Oh,
it
Wow.
costs.
wonderful.
Wow.
And they funded the restoration, and I did the Medak also. That apart, I moved into choral conducting. There was a thing called Hyderabad Choral Society.
Mhm.
I was the conductor there for several years. Then we formed another choir called the Festival Choristers.
Oh, yes.
Then I was the founder conductor there as well.
Wow. Yeah.
And some schools asked me, can you come and teach the children? So I did only in one school. I went there and taught them singing, harmonica as well as recorder.
Wow.
So in one of the annual day, they could sing something else and accompanied by their own children in the harmonica and recorder and the keyboard, with one girl playing the keyboard.
That's
So
nice.
the school was very happy that it brought up something else, that kind of stuff. So these are the kind of activities I could do. Instead of somebody assigning and say, take it up as a challenge, we'll do this and do that, I started doing it totally on my own. And this is what I could do in that short while I could get it. That's it.
Yes, sir. And the perception of Hyderabadi audience towards Western music, because a lot of people were used to Indian music by then. So, what was their reaction to Western classical music?
Yeah. I'll tell you one incident, then maybe we can compare. There was a concert by one of the German orchestra,
Oh, okay.
and that orchestra belonged to a pharmaceutical company.
Okay.
and everybody in the orchestra was staff in the pharmaceutical company. Plus they could play some instrument.
Wow.
So they came, and it was in the Shilpa Kala Vedika.
Okay.
That final concert was over there. And they had a preview kind of a concert only for selected people. And I got the invitation from the Goethe Centrum. So I went for the preview concert. And during the concert, the conductor turned around and said, "Anybody wants to ask anything?" So one person asked, "What is this bamboo you're playing there?"
Okay.
So I was very shocked. He comes for Western music concert, and he has to ask the German conductor as to what is the bamboo. "Oh, well, that is not a bamboo. It's called the bassoon."
Yeah.
And he told the lady, "Just play the bassoon and show it to them." So that was the perception of people who wanted to attend a Western music concert. They had no clue. When it came to choir, yes, they all knew, because traditionally they have been brought up at different places, and they came to Hyderabad either by work or postings, transfers or whatever. So they could do well in the Western classical choral music. So when it comes to performing pieces, the pupils, or primarily children, they all just did whatever the teacher taught them. And the Western Music Foundation, we had the Hyderabad Western Music, they did a wonderful job. And in the concerts, they asked me to write a review.
Okay.
So I wrote a review, and I had a one punch sentence.
Oh.
I said, the Hyderabad Western Music Forum and the Foundation, it's going to give you a podium for performance. Why? Because all of you are playing these pieces at home or in front of the examiner and getting a certificate for yourself.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Where else are you playing? Nowhere else.
Yeah.
So we are going to provide a podium for performance, I said. That sentence is caught on, and almost everywhere, wherever they had a review, they put the sentence along. That's how it is. That's the perception. Yeah.
You are enthusiastic and inquisitive about all kinds of music, whether it's Western or Indian, classical or contemporary. So how do you maintain a learner's mindset and attitude as a teacher? And how do you keep up with the ever-competitive environment of the music industry?
Once again, let's split it into two parts. Second part is the music industry and the competition which is around it. The first part is the learner aspect. See, it's very essential in life to keep updating oneself. Even if you already know something, the update possibly is adding a wee bit to whatever you already know. And there could be many things which you don't know as yet. So interacting with this Carnatic classical music experts and Hindustani classical music experts, it has been a part of my life. I attended Carnatic music concerts all the way in Saptaparni.
Wow.
And it was a lecture demonstration where the lady could talk in between and that kind of a thing. So I was listening to the whole thing, and it was quite a big update for me. So as long as you have an open mind, saying that I know this much, possibly this has added a wee bit to whatever I know, and feel happy about it, or you just say, well, all these years I never knew about it, there's something new. So in both cases you feel very happy. And it fulfills your desire, kind of a thing. That is the first part about the learner's attitude. Coming to the second part, well, I never wanted to compete in life. I'll put it that way. At least of all in music.
Oh.
Because according to me, music is very sublime, very ethereal, and highly personal. It touches the deepest part of your emotion. And to commercialize it, and it never appealed to me. Right? Technology is yet another part. I was very much updated in technology because I was dealing with technology. In the ships were radars or sonars, the same kind of technology.
You were an engineer, right?
I'm an engineer as well. But what the music industry is doing is harnessing this technology for music and making it commercially viable.
Yes.
Now you will ask me, are they doing anything wrong? I'll say absolutely no. They're satisfying the needs of very many people who love that music.
Yes, absolutely.
I may not, so I'm not in competition with them. Neither I'm going to decry them, saying that what is all this stuff like that with jing bang and this and that heavy metal. It is part of it. So the industry is capable of harnessing the technology, and there are so many people doing audio engineering these days, music production these days,
Yes.
regular courses, they're very expensive courses also they're doing. And it's a different kettle of fish altogether. So I would say I don't gel into that, neither I decry that. I still remain in my own space, which is choral music confined to church and those kind of things, and teaching theory of music, having a wide spectrum of the Western classical music, because they have to appear and get some certificate. So to that extent, I have updated myself on those aspects as well.
And you keep updating
Keep
yourself.
updating myself. That's it.
Being one of the fewest experts of the pipe organ in the twin states of Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, how has your experience been in explaining concepts regarding this unique instrument to the public?
Well, I'll first do a rewind, go to my 11 years stage, then I'll do a fast forward as to how I came to this place and did the
Wow.
pipe organ work. And there's a lot of gap between the 11 years and present 74 years, right? Well, when I was just about 9, 10 years old, my father used to describe about pipe organ. He used to praise the British chap who played the pipe organ in a small town called Nagapatnam. It's a port town. It is a port where the ships can't enter the harbour. The ships will be anchored there and all the boats will go and collect it. That kind of a port. But it was a very active port called Nagapatnam. So there was a pipe organ there possibly. Then my father used to praise, saying that the British fellow alone could play. No Indian was allowed to play and all this stuff like that. To me, it is like somebody describing about an elephant to a blind man. So I had no clue as to what a pipe organ, what is it trying to describe? What does the pipe do on the organ? I only know bellows and all the stuff like that. So just about when I was 11 years, I said I'll go to that place. And by the time I could play the hymns and all this thing. So I went to the place, the same church my father spent in the childhood. And after the whole worship was over, I went forward and said, can I have a closer look at it and all this stuff? They said, yes. So then said, do you play? I said, if you ask me to play, I'll play. I said, okay, just play and show us. So I sat and played whatever they played for the mass.
Wow.
They said, why didn't you come before? And you could have played for the worship. Because the person who played for the worship, he was literally fumbling around kind of a thing. But nobody minds because they're all singing, they don't know what mistakes is doing.
That is something to get by.
That's right, something to get by. So I sat there and I played whatever was the thing. They said, why didn't you come before? That kind of a thing. And they're all appreciation for me. And that's the first time I ever saw a pipe organ.
Oh, so you played it for the first time?
That's 11th year, 11 years old. First time I'm seeing a pipe organ. I have no clue what is inside. I only see the pipes, I see the keyboard and I see the pedal board where you play with your feet and all this thing like that. Then by around 14, 15, I joined engineering college, passed out, and by around 20 plus, I was there in Bombay. And I went to a church where there was a pipe organ.
Oh, wow.
Right? So that is the next pipe organ I came across. And the organist was very kind and he allowed me to play and all these things. So I developed playing the pipe organ there. Then he took me up and showed me how the pipes are arranged and the kind of rows and columns and all those things. So I understood the mechanism, how it works and all. Thereafter, it's a matter of going to various churches where the pipe organ is there and trying to contribute whatever he can do by a little bit of maintenance, etc., including the fact that the All Saints Church in Tirmalgiri in 1976, when I was here for a short while, I went and worshipped over there and they didn't play the pipe organ. So I asked the person, why are you doing all this pedal stuff and what are you got a lovely pipe organ? He says, giving some problem, you don't know what to do. I said, would you mind I have a look?
Mhm.
He said, yes, go ahead. So he came, switched on, etc. There's something called a cipher in pipe organ. The cipher is something where it starts, the one pipe starts sounding without having to press the key. I said, I'll fix it up.
Oh.
So I went inside and I fixed up.
Oh.
After that, he could play week after week, he could play that.
Oh, wow.
So
Wow.
it's that way contributing towards the pipe organ upkeep, maintenance, use, playing, whatever, wherever I went.
Oh.
That kind of a thing, it kept me going. And you must have seen we had an organ guided tour also in our church, arranged by the Hyderabad Western Music Forum. And as a succession planning, I trained, I should say, around 5-6 people to play the pipe organ after me.
Oh.
And they are all playing in the church now very effectively.
Oh, wow.
And the examiner who came, the ABRSF examiner who came, he said, I never had a pipe organ exam presented to me like this.
Oh.
He said, I've been an examiner for so many places. They'll tell me, well, the piano is not there, oral you have to do there, and so and so is not there, you have to do it in such and such place. I have to go from pillar to post, trying to conduct the organ exam. Here everything is within arm's reach.
Oh.
You kept all the books here, you kept a piano here for me to conduct oral tests and everything else, that kind of. So it's a matter of promoting the awareness of pipe organ as well as capability to play and all this thing. That has been my, I would say, mission, you can say.
Wow.
What is your message to young music enthusiasts and students?
Very simple message. Share whatever musical material, resources, knowledge, what have you, with everybody, without any consideration of the 3 R's in bracket. What are the 3 R's? Remuneration, reward, or recognition. Don't look for any other 3, but still share, propagate, and automatically you will get the blessing from God. That's a very simple message I have.
So without any remuneration, recognition, recognition or reward.
Don't look for it. Don't have anticipation, don't expect. When you share the music, the moment you have an expectation, I'm doing this for so and so, so I should get this back. Without anything, you just share, automatically you'll be blessed in your own way.
Wow.
This is what I feel. And it has worked. It is not that I concocted this message only for this show or something. I'll give you 2 or 3 actual incidents. There's one person who came from Chennai all the way for pipe organ lessons and grade 5 lessons, etc. And he asked me, Uncle, how much is the fees? I told him nothing. He said, you must be joking. I said, no. Right? He said, I said, when you grow up, when you have an opportunity, do the same thing to somebody else.
Wow.
So he did his full lessons with me. He didn't pay a single pay. I didn't expect anything from him. He got distinction and used to travel in the electric train from a place called Azadi in Chennai to some other place. And try changing electric trains after electric train. Read his theory of music in the train, and he passed very well. And I didn't ask him for a single pie. He went to the US, and one day he's phoning up and said, when I was not in a position to pay you anything, I still asked you, and you told me that I don't have to pay anything. I was very thrilled. Now I'm in a position to do something, and I want to do something. Right? So he says, can you take your footprints and give? There's a special shoes for organ playing. When you have to play the pedals, keyboard, the pedal clavier, there's a special shoe. He said, I will order in the company and tell them to deliver in India.
Wow.
Wow.
So that is all his own idea.
Wow.
Right? I didn't expect so many years back when he did. He was in the US, and now I took the footprint and I sent it across to him, and he sent it to the shoe company, and they made the lovely shoe and it landed in Hyderabad.
Wow.
So that's what it is. So whatever I'm saying as my message, it is not for sake of just
This
a show or anything.
interview.
Yes, yes.
I meant it, right?
Yes.
Then one more person in Hyderabad, he said, sir, I take 2 buses to come from my place, go to Secunderabad. From there, take another bus, get down at this junction, and after that bus doesn't go near Hislop Road, so I walk up to your house and once again go back another 2 hours, right? Can you increase the duration of your class? I said, yes, no issue. Then he waited for a while and said, without increasing the fees.
Oh.
I said, no issue, right? So, as it is, I gave a discounted fee to him and he wanted double the time. I had no problem. I said, even if he gives me 100 rupees more or 500 rupees more, that won't add it to my coffers to that extent. As much as the satisfaction he got, having got the lesson from me at a very low kind of expense from his side. So that kind of a thing. So that way I can keep on saying in so many places, I don't expect, there one church in Bombay, in Malabar Hill, they had a problem because the organist fell sick. They hurriedly asked me, can you come and play for us? I said, yes. I just rushed there and I played. At the end of it, they wrote a check. I said, the check is for what? I said, no, you see, he came and played all the way. I said, listen, I'm not selling my talent.
Wow.
I had to God, back to God. So they said, no, what do we do? I said, no, simple. I took my checkbook, I wrote one more check for the same amount and put it in the pocket.
Oh.
All these things not yesterday to years back. I'm talking about right from my 20s onwards, kind of a thing. Right? So the message I have, no remuneration, don't look for remuneration, don't look for reward, don't look for recognition, is what I practiced. So that's what I share.
And it is what you preach now.
I want to preach and practice the same thing. Because a couple of 100 rupees more from anybody doesn't add to your coffers to that kind of extent. That's it.
Is there any specific facet of Western music that you would want to share your views on?
Of course, yes. There is a very interesting topic called tuning and temperament.
And coming from the mouth of an organist.
Yeah, tuning and temperament. Tuning is nothing but fixing a standard for people who are engineers and physics students. It's a matter of frequency.
Yes.
And in today's context, ask anybody, they'll say A440.
Yeah.
Straight away they'll say. But the A440 was thrust on us during the Nazi regime.
Oh.
Otherwise, the Baroque period, it was A415.
Oh, so low.
Later they changed to 432, which is something to do with our universe and earth rotation and vibration of the cosmos or whatever. And Verdi is the only one who loved this 432. And it's also called the Verdi's A.
Okay.
Right? So we spoke about 440, which is today, thrust on us. 415, which was the Baroque time. And 432 during Verdi, much later period, right? And it's called the Verdi's A. So there's nothing we can do today to go back to 432 just because I like it and Verdi likes it, or you like it, or you say endorse my view. So we'll leave that tuning part aside, right? The complex part is called the temperament.
Yes.
Now, who invented all this physics of sound is nobody else except our Pythagoras.
Okay, from the theorem.
He 550 years back, he enunciated all this stuff about the fundamental and the octave and the fifth panjam and all this thing. Then Pythagoras said, if you take a note and call it 1, the exact octave will be 2,
Yes.
and the panjam or the fifth note will be 1.5 times, exactly midway, 3 by 2. But there's one very complex phenomena which is there. That's called the Pythagorean comma. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So Pythagoras also knew that the 12 fifths,
Yes.
if you say 3 by 2 and 3 by 2 and 3 by 2 to the power of 12, you land finally on a note called B sharp. And if you say 7 octaves, C, 7 times, it is 2 to the power of 7, which is 128. whereas the other one is 129 point something.
Oh.
So we have a small difference. Even the enharmonically you say, well, B sharp is same as C. I've been taught by my music teacher. They're enharmonic and all the stuff like that. But the fact is the frequency is not same.
Okay.
That is the physics of sound.
Mhm.
And Pythagoras himself knew it. But he couldn't do anything at that point of time. We're talking about around 2,700 years back. Later people, all the 1600s, 1700s, including Bach, they all said we should find a solution for it. What is the solution? As she rightly said, the Pythagorean comma, you distribute inside the notes and make some intervals more and some intervals less. That means you start tempering the intervals and you do this. Bach also realized this, so Bach invented his own method of doing it, and at the end of it Bach said, I have to prove it. I have made a tuning method, but I have to prove it. So Bach wrote what is known as a Bach 48.
The well-tempered clavier.
Well-tempered clavier. He wrote 2 volumes. Volume 1 is 24 pieces. Volume 2 is another 24 pieces. Now you will ask me, how 24? Because Bach said, I'll write everything on major scale and one minor scale. There are 12 major scales because 7 white notes and 5 black notes are there. So there can be 12 major scales. And we start from inside, you can have 12 minor scale. So 24. So Bach said first he'll write volume 1, 24 pieces to prove his method of tuning and adjusting this temperament. Then he wrote the second volume little later. So it's called the well-tempered clavier. Apart from Bach, there are so many other people who worked on this, right? Thomas Young, Werkmeister, Valloti, and so many other people worked on this temperament, and they evolved their own method for distributing the inaccuracies or the Pythagorean comma and making some intervals little up more, little less kind of stuff. I happened to visit a place in Bangalore. It's called Kristu Jyoti, whatever, not academy, but a seminary. Kristu Jyoti Seminary, it's in Kerpuram, Krishnarajapuram. I went there, they have an Italian pipe organ. So I went and inspected it and I requested them, can I have a look and all. It's written very clearly, the organ has been tuned to Valloti temperament. Valloti is Italian.
Oh, okay.
Right, Valloti temperament. Which means it is not the equal temperament which you see in the normal keyboard, which is a mathematical chopping of an octave into 12 equal parts. And the 12 equal parts doesn't gel. It's an anathema for an Indian musician. You tell a Carnatic musician, take this Yamaha and start playing, it will no way. This is equal temperament. You tell a Hindustani classical musician, please take my keyboard and start using it instead of harmony, will say no way. Because your shrutis are not coincident with this kind of a chopped 12 intervals. Right? So in my view, instead of living with this compromise of tempered interval, why not we get back to Thomas Young or Valloti or anything? It will sound much better. It will be closer to what the composer originally intended it to be. So this is my desire. It may not work at all in life because everybody is manufacturing keyboards with 12th root of 2 and that works out equal chopped pieces of C to C sharp and C sharp to D and whatnot, etc. It's only my thought process. And it's an interesting subject to learn.
Thank you so much, sir, for agreeing to come on board. And it has been absolutely wonderful and delightful having this wonderful conversation about life and music with you. Thank you very much for coming on board.
Thank you, sir.